All right, good morning to you all. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, so thankfully we are getting close to the end of the semester. And I think we've looked at some basics in Python and then the PHP. So we are done with the PHP aspect for this particular course. And then today and I think tomorrow, the subsequent weeks, we are going to look at the JavaScript aspect, being part of the scripting languages. Yeah, I've received all your codes for the PHP project as the mid-semester exams. So I'll be grading you from time to time. And yeah, I'll be working on that. But in the meantime, I think we can start the introduction to the JavaScript. Yes, I'm sure, guys, some of you will be wondering why we've still not met face to face. Actually, I have a little bit of a challenge, and then my movement has become a bit problematic. So you guys should pardon me for not appearing face to face sessions, and then it looks like everything is online. Yeah. So I would like to also plead with you guys to take whatever we are studying a step further. What we are doing here is always the basics, and then I'm hoping that uh, you guys will get abreast with some of the languages, and then you do well to, you know, should I say, excavate more or be well versed in the various languages, because all these languages are paramount when it comes to software development and what have you. Yeah, so without much ado, I think I can kickstart the JavaScript. I'm sure some of you have foreknowledge of this particular language because it's one of the popular languages that any web developer should know. Yeah, so just for the sake of those who have no idea at all, we I always want to start from the basics so that some people may understand what is happening and also to also appreciate how this language works so that they can take a step further, just as some of you probably have idea of what JavaScript already is. Yeah, so what should you know about the JavaScript? So for you to be able to code with with JavaScript, you should have a basics in HTML and CSS. So, and that's one I'm sure, and I believe most of you, I think last semester, no, like this last semester or previous semesters, you guys learned about web programming. So you came across the HTML and the CSS. We've discussed about that. I remember you said that to me. Yeah. So I think you guys even did JavaScript, right? Please tell me that you guys did JavaScript. Yes, you guys did. Yes, I remember you told me. Yes. Hello, come
No,
again.
no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no, no.
We didn't do that
You didn't touch it at all.
at
Never.
all.
No, please. No, please.
Okay. But
No,
No,
did you hear anything concerning JavaScript? Like, did you hear the
no,
word JavaScript in?
no.
Oh, okay. All right.
we only heard the name just.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Salasi. So, um, JavaScript is actually very, very crucial when it comes to website development. Yeah. So anyone who is into web development, you can't skip JavaScript. Just as you can't skip the CSS and HTML, the JavaScript is also, I think is the fun part of, the web development. If you think the CSS is fun, CSS, helps you to add colors, videos and those images, but JavaScript makes it more fun. We call it it actually makes it more interactive. Yeah. So for you to click on something, for something to show up, maybe you click on maybe save, and then there's a pop-up of your work has been successfully saved or whatsoever. That kind of prompt, click here, click there. When the website is teaching you to click here, like it makes it like uh, a moving screen. Don't worry. I think as time goes on, I'll show you some websites. All websites, all big websites tend to use the JavaScript to make the website more interactive. Unlike HTML and CSS, they just make it more static. But JavaScript is there to make it more dynamic. So, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a scripting language used to create dynamic content for websites. Yeah, it achieves uh, by adding new elements while modifying existing ones. Yeah, so you can see that whilst you were dealing with the HTML, whatever information you put on your website, it is like on the HTML section, it is static. You can't change anything, from time to time. Let me give you an example. Let's say we have this website. Okay, this is a lyrics website. Now, with the lyrics website, once you change something, like you see this lettering here, which is sign up, the sign up here. Once you use HTML, you can't change the sign up. It can be static forever. But with JavaScript, you can write a code in a way that once you click on maybe any button, or when you refresh something or you do something, this sign up can change from sign up to something else that you want to, uh, you anything you want to give to. Even this image, for instance, when you use HTML, it will just be static like this. You can't do anything about it. But JavaScript will have the tendency, when this becomes a primary image, JavaScript can go ahead and edit or change this image to something else by maybe a click, or a key press down whatsoever. Yeah, so what JavaScript actually does is this: it makes your website more interactive by making some changes to some of the things that the HTML can't actually change. So if you become a website developer, you realize that, or you may understand more of what I'm trying to say here. With HTML, all you can have, or your information on the website, is more static. It's static. You can't do anything about it. But when you introduce JavaScript, there are instances where there are some words you would want to make some changes to them by maybe clicking on it for something else or to change. Then you have the JavaScript coming to play to ensure that something that used to be primarily there can later be changed using the JavaScript. Yeah, so that is what JavaScript is all about. So it helps in creating a dynamic content for website. Now it achieves by adding new elements while modifying existing. So while modifying what existing ones. So many coders enhance web development skills using JavaScript to create a user-friendly and interactive website. So you realize that websites, after you save something, the button can change. Like there could be some form of movement, and JavaScript will help you get that job done. Now with this scripting language, front-end developers build elements like images, image carousels, games, and countdowns. Let me show you an example of the image carousel. Let's go to the let's go to our website. Now, in instances where you have images like this photo gallery, um, for you to be moving left and right, so this can be done by, this JavaScript thing. I don't know. You guys have seen some images where you can be moving from, the right to your left, from left to right. It makes your website more interactive. Yes. So let's go to the home page. Now you see that this particular image. Let's to go back. Now this particular information here, you can see that I can go ahead and close it and open it. So this is one effect or some of the effects of the JavaScript. Okay, so there is one thing here, and I can click for something else to what happen. And then with the image carousel, you realize that this particular image has now changed to a new image, for instance. And you can even click here. If these are buttons, I don't know whether they are buttons. Yeah, so you can see that images are changing from one image to the other. So with the use of JavaScript, you can have lots of interactions, okay, with the that particular language. So we are going to learn how to do this basic stuff. Then I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy the session. Then you can go ahead and learn more. So you can even use games, countdowns. I think on the website we even have I think there's no countdown here. I don't know whether I don't know whether this is a countdown. No, there's no countdown here. But there are instances where you can have a countdown, on a particular website, and this is being done with the use of the so anything that's moves around, or mostly things that move around the website are most effects from or coming from the JavaScript. Yeah, so according to 2020 Stack Overflow Developer Survey, nearly 70% of survey respondents cite JavaScript as the most popular scripting language. So JavaScript is really popular compared to most other languages. Yeah, so what can JavaScript do? JavaScript can change HTML content. So this is what I was explaining earlier. So HTML can change, so JavaScript can change HTML content. So this photo gallery, for instance, is the default HTML content. With JavaScript, we can go ahead and change this particular photo gallery to something else based on a click or maybe a key press down or whatsoever. So JavaScript is able to get that job done. And it says to be able to change that, we need one of the methods. We have a method called getElement by ID. We'll see how this works when it comes to JavaScript. Then JavaScript can also change attributes. If you guys remember most of your HTML tags, most tags have attributes. So for instance, we have the image tag, and the image tag, one of the attributes it has is a source, the src. So it's also possible to change the source. So if by default you were using image 1, JavaScript can go ahead based on certain codes. It can change the image 1 to maybe image 2 based on the strategies are going to do. Then also CSS styles. So the various CSS styles we have, JavaScript can also make that happen. Let's pick this particular side of the website. Okay. Yeah. So hide and open. You can see that once you click here, it changes with its own information. You click here, it also hides whatever information that it has here. Yeah, so with JavaScript, have you seen that here with the photo gallery, where we have the color to be yellow when the mouse pointer is on it. We can also have the JavaScript to maybe change it later to something else when you still hover around a particular lettering. Yeah, so based on your CSS style, JavaScript can also make changes to that. So as it can make changes to our HTML, it can also make changes to our CSS styles as well. With JavaScript, you can hide elements. I think I've shown you so many things on your website. I've shown you how, one of the buttons that when we click, it hides the elements, and also it can also show the elements. Just in case you just joined, this is the open, which is showing, and also the hide here is also what. So this is an example of JavaScript working out things for us. Yeah, so job titles commonly working with JavaScript include web developer, we have front-end developer, and also full stack developer. Yeah, so knowing JavaScript, you can become a front-end developer. So when you talk about front-end developer, when in the field of website development, we have people who are there to only design the interface of the application that we are using. So most websites are being developed by the front-end developers. Front-end developers are the developers who design something beautiful for we the clients to see. They also have the back-end developers. So back-end developers, they are looking at data that gets into the system from the front end. So we have people who are designed themselves that all they are going to do is to just focus on beautifying the client aspect of the application. So they do nothing but to ensure that they give you the best design from the front page. Then we also have the back developers, the back end developers. For the back end developers, they write the PHP codes, and ensuring that data received from the front end, is being aligned to the database. So I think we've done the PHP. So PHP, for instance, is a back end. If you're able to, if you want to learn more on back end, that is where you can, start from. And we also have the full stack developers. So the full stack developer is someone who can do both the front end and the back end as well. So if you want to become a full stack developer, then you should also get to know how to write codes with, how to write codes in JavaScript. So JavaScript is used, or is used as the basic foundation for frameworks like React and AngularJS. So AngularJS and React. I don't know if some of you have heard that before. You can search on that. They will make your life really easier. There are frameworks that will help you, make some of these things. The codes are already there. You just have to do some little touches to just get on or get ahead of some of the things that you would want to. So put plainly, that learning JavaScript may provide additional flexibility when developing applications. So why JavaScript? JavaScript, we are studying that as one of the scripting languages because it's one of the most, it's even the most popular scripting language. Then it's a programming language for web, and it is also easy to learn. So tools for developing, it's a scripting language, so you can still go with Notepad++ or any other text editor that you can use. All right, so our time is almost up. Okay, I think I can still make use of the last minute. Now, getting started with JavaScript in HTML. So you can see that JavaScript has everything to do with HTML. Now, JavaScript code is inserted between script tag, the opening tag, and then the script closing tag. So what we're trying to say is that in your HTML document, we can have the JavaScript code written in it, and then to write the JavaScript code, you just have to begin with the keyword script in an opening tag, and then so it's actually a container tag. So you create a container tag with the opening script tag and then a closing script tag. So in between these tags, you can go ahead and then put in your information. So this is an example of how to write a JavaScript code. So we have the opening tag, then you go ahead and put in the code. So we'll understand what this code even means as we move on this particular course. So once you are done, you just close it and then you save, and then you can run your website. Now we are also saying that JavaScript in head or in body. So you can place, you know that in HTML we have the head section and also the body section. So what we are trying to say is that you can put your JavaScript code in either the body or also in the head. It's also fine. You can even create an external file, just as you guys create. All right, I think we can continue. Yeah, so as I was saying, when you're writing a JavaScript code, remember we have the scripting tags, the opening and closing, and we are saying that this opening and closing of the scripting tags can be either written in the head section or in the body section. Also, you can have an external file where you can put all your scripting codes in there. Then we do the linking, just as you guys did with CSS. You know, CSS, you can write it inline, also with the external files as well. So in the head sector, so this is from the exclamation doc type, we have the simple HTML code, and then this is a sector where we can find our scripting language. So this is the head section, and inside the head section we have the scripting information or the scripting statement within the script tags. So this is one way you can write or you can fit in your scripting the code. They also have the body. So with the body, so here the HTML code didn't display the heading section. You can ignore that. So with the body section too, we have the scripting tag also displaying in here, and we have there's a function created for that. Yeah, so these are two ways you can write your JavaScript code. And then with the external scripts, the file extension you're supposed to look at is .js. So once you have an external file, you name the file with any name you want, but you must ensure that the file's extension is .js, just as we had in python.py, in the PHP, then the JavaScript we have .js. So once you are done, then you can call this code within your HTML document by linking this. So this is the link with the script src, then the name of the file .it extension, which is the JS. Then you have the closing script. Then you can go ahead and then effect the changes. So assuming this is an external file called my script.js, you have this information in there, and to go ahead or to go a long way to ensure that the job is done. So you can place an external script reference in head or the body as you like. So this particular linking, you can put it in the script, the head section, or also you can put that within the body section. So that is the link, or that the referencing scripts tag. So the script will behave as if it was located exactly where the script is located. So now some benefits. So usually one of the benefits, or most of the benefits that you can derive from using external language. So mostly if you guys are able to have access to a particular source code of a website, realize that the .js is normally an external file, and once it's an external file, it makes the reading easier, because once you open a particular file, you know that that file contains only the JavaScript codes. So you know that in website development, we can have our HTML code in it, we can have our CSS code in it, we can also have our PHP code in the same file, we can also have the JavaScript. So when the languages are becoming too many within a single file, it makes reading, difficult. Yeah, so once you have your codes in separate files, as for the HTML, will have its own file, CSS will also have its own file, then what's the name? The PHP can also, have its own file. Then we also have the JavaScript having its own separate file, and it makes reading, and it makes HTML and JavaScript easier to read and maintain. So once you always have your various languages within different separate files, it makes reading really cool. Now we're also seeing that you can also go ahead and add multiple scripting tags or scripting files. And once you are doing that, if you have multiple files for the same scripting language, you just have to, call them separately. So this one, for instance, is my script 1. Then this is my script 2. So you can go ahead and then within the body section or the header section, you can go ahead and call each of these particular scripting files within them, and it will work as if they were a part of the HTML file. Yeah, so JavaScript line of codes, we call that a statement. So this is statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, statement 4. So let is used for declaring variables. So in JavaScript, we call the line of codes, statements. So I have that in mind. So JavaScript program is a list of instructions to be executed by a computer. In the scripting language, this programming language instructions are called statements. And a JavaScript program is a list of scripting statements. So what we will call as codes in maybe C++, line of codes, we call them scripting statements when it comes to JavaScript. So so in HTML, JavaScript programs are executed by a web browser. So we're going to be using the web browser a lot to demonstrate some of our works. So JavaScript statements are composed of values. So we can have numbers, or letters for our statements. We can also have operators, and have formulas or expressions. We can have keywords, we can have comments, as we have in other scripting languages. Yeah, so I think we've seen this particular line of code a lot. Document.getElement by ID. Then we have into bracket, and then into a quote we have demo.innerHTML equals another quote. We have hello Dolly, with the terminator. Yeah, so this statement tells the browser to write hello Dolly inside an HTML element with the ID demo. Yeah, so these statements are executed one by one in the same order as they are written. So this code here is a scripting code or scripting statement, and then we are saying that it is going to change a particular ID. So probably there is an HTML tag where one of the tags, the ID attached to that particular tag is demo. So we are saying that go and get the element by the ID, that element, that HTML element with the ID demo, and then change whatever is already there to hello Dolly. Remember, HTML is there to change information that is already there. Then we also have the semicolon or the terminator, or what you guys will probably say semicolon. So semicolons separate JavaScript statements. Add a semicolon at the end of each executable statement. So just as we have I think one of the best practices I'll advise you on is that JavaScript is like, it has a lot of similarities like the C++ language you guys have learned. Yeah. And also close to the PHP as well. Yeah. So JavaScript also, love to have the terminator at the end of every statement. So when separated by semicolon, multiple statements on one line are allowed. So you can see that this particular aspect of the codes, we have different lines. Okay. So the first is declaration. Secondly, we assign 5 to A. This we've seen multiple times, so I'm sure we understand what is happening in this little code. So it's just the addition of two numbers. So we're trying to say that in JavaScript, it is possible to declare all this in a single line. So you can see that after declaration of the various variables, you can assign with a semicolon, 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 and it will work perfectly. So with the use of the semicolon, all these multiple lines or and statements will be still executed. JavaScript's white space. Now, JavaScript ignores multiple white space. You can add white space to your script to make it more readable. The following lines are equivalent. And when we say white spaces, for instance, I've written something like this: let x comma y. Maybe let me just add this, and then you can also say var. Let me just say still use the same so that people don't get confused. Now, the distance between the t and my x here is what we call a white space. Then maybe a semicolon. I can go ahead and do this as well. So let, and then x, then y. So these are white spaces. So we are trying to say that JavaScript will not, have any issue when you are writing your codes like this. Okay. So once you are separating various individual characters, it doesn't really matter how. So white spaces are ignored. This JavaScript ignores multiple spaces. So for instance, you can see let person equals age, and there's a space between the equal to sign before the person and also after the value here. And we are saying that JavaScript does not care. But remember, you can't put there should be a space between the let, because the let here is a keyword, and then we also have the variable person and then the value. So writing it like this and like that are still equal to each other. So when you are living with so many spaces, JavaScript does not really care. Now, a good practice is to always put spaces around operators. Yeah, so we are also saying that if you're writing an expression, it's very advisable to put in spaces between what operators so that it will become more readable for. And then also have JavaScript line length and line breaks. For best readability, programmers often like to avoid code lines longer than 80 characters. If a JavaScript statement does not fit in one line or fit on one line, the best place to break it is after an operator. Now, there are so many information that I'm going to bombard you when it comes to JavaScript. You have to take note of all of them. There are so many information. So when it comes to programming, there are lots of instructions. What makes programming difficult is you being able to, you're unable to keep up with the instructions. So when you're doing something, there are so many things you should know. Else, just a common semicolon that is being missed can make or can give you a really tough time, or it can give you a hell for the entire day, or maybe if a entire week when you're writing a program. So when you watch so far, I've given us a lot of instructions. It does this, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this. But just have this in mind. Now we are also seeing that for best readability, now JavaScript code can be really long on a single line. So we are trying to say that you may have to break some of the line of codes. And in doing that, we are saying that you can only do that when you encounter an operator. So usually this particular value here with a semicolon should have continued on a single line here. Then we're also saying that for best readability, programmers often like to avoid code longer than 80 characters. So if your line of code is getting more than 80 characters, what you're supposed to do is to just strike the enter key and come on the next line. But you can only do that when you encounter an operator. So here the equal to sign, as the equal to sign is an operator. So after the equal to sign, then the person will go ahead and strike enter. So JavaScript will know that okay, this particular line of code, even though they are on separate lines, they are of the same relation. So this same code, if I'm to scroll up here, we saw the same code neatly written on a single line. And we're trying to say that sometimes when your line of code is becoming too long, break it at the end of the equal to symbol or an operator. It could be a plus operator, minus operator, whatsoever. So far as an operator, you can go ahead and break the code into separate lines. All right, so JavaScript statements can be grouped together in code blocks inside curly brackets. The purpose of code blocks is to define statements to be executed together. One place you will find statements grouped together in blocks is in JavaScript functions. So just as in other languages that you can create functions, it's also possible to create a function in JavaScript. And in doing that, you use the curly bracket to show that this is what a function. A function has the keyword function and a function name with a closing and opening brackets. Then with the curly brackets and a closing, the opening and closing curly brackets, then within that, you can go ahead and put in your function. If time permits us, we'll see how we can write functions. So JavaScript keywords, there are so many keywords, and you have to learn all of them. So JavaScript statement often starts with a keyword to identify the JavaScript action to be performed. Here is a list of some of these keys you will learn about in this particular tutorial. So with var, just as we have in other programming languages where we have the int, float, double, string, in JavaScript, to declare variable, you need two things, var and let. So var is used for declaring variables, and then let is also used for declaring variables within a block. A block means more like a scope or a function where you can go ahead and declare. So with a var, for instance, if you are writing a program or developing a website where it may be accessed by an older browser, you can fall on the var, but most of the times let is being used as the variable for declaring, so as the data type for declaring various variables. So to declare variable, you say let. You can also use the var or the var, and you are fine. Constant too is also used. The const can also be used for declaring a variable, but this time it is a constant value. We also have the if. As we all know, if statements are used for taking decisions. You also have the switch, which also can perform some functions of the if. We also have the for loop function for declaring functions. Return to exit the function. Try to also, I'm sure you guys have come across the try catch. Yeah, to pick off, the try is always there to pick off some errors from the user screen and then resolve whatever it is. Yeah, so this slide has ended. Let me continue to the next part. All right, so we are going to begin the JavaScript code, and then we have the syntax. So to start writing JavaScript code, we have a set of rules that governs how you can what. So you can see that we're talking about how to create variables. So in creating variable, you can go ahead and use the var or the let to create the various variables. You can also go ahead and assign. So let me just use this particular file here. So this is let's maybe we can just use your name, and then we have the var. So we have so these are various ways you can declare a variable. So we have declaration of variable. All right, good. So it's also possible to assign your variables the various values you would want to. So I can go ahead and then say that my name. So name is equal to, then I can just pass the name in there. Then remember, it always have to end with a semicolon. But with numbers, we know we don't have to put in anything. So this is, how you can declare variable and then assign values to your various variable. Now, as you can see, I'm using double slash, to show comments. So in JavaScript, to show comments, you use the double slash, just as you guys know within C++. All right, so JavaScript syntax defines two types of values. You have the fixed values and variable values. Fixed values are called literals, and then we have variables are also, variable values are called, variables. So when you talk about talk about literals, the most important syntax rules for fixed values are numbers. So numbers are written with or without, decimals like this. So 10. So if I have a variable like this, this for instance is one of the literals that we can have. We can also have the const as one of the literals, and we also have variables. So my age, for instance, is one of the variables. Name is also one of the variables which can be changed, but the use of const means that it can be changed. All right, so we also have in programming language, variables are used to store data. JavaScript uses keywords like var, let, and const to declare variables, and also use the equal to sign to assign values to the various variables. So, an example, x is defined as a variable, and then the number 6 was attached to that particular variable. The various operators that can be used are a lot, but basically we have the plus, minus, and the asterisk, and also the slash can be used, or that can be used when it comes to JavaScript when you are doing some form of calculations. So not all JavaScript statements are executed. That is comments. Not all statements are being executed, and we know that these ones are what called comments in programming language and also other scripting languages. So code after double slashes. Also, we have the opening tag, the opening and the closing, asterisk and a slash can be treated with us. And we know these ones coming from C++, this C++ as well. So it's either you use this for a single line or you can use this for your multiple line. Okay. So JavaScript identifiers. So there are rules in naming variables within JavaScript. And then we are saying that just as we have the same rule for most of the most of the programming languages, JavaScript also follows the same trend. JavaScript can also harbor the use of $sign to begin your various variables. For that, we know the rules, so I'm not going to spend much time explaining those ones. So the rules are just similar. Just that I'm just letting you know that you can add a $sign. But in my experience, you barely see $signs attached to variable names when it comes to JavaScript. The $sign, you mostly see them when it comes to the PHP language. JavaScript is case sensitive. C++ is also case sensitive. PHP is case sensitive. Python is also case sensitive. So these languages that we've studied so far are really case sensitive programs. Yeah, so variable names, and I'm sure I've explained case sensitivity over and over. So this is last name, this is last name. The only difference here is that the N here is a capital N for the first last name, and then the second one here is still in small letter. So this will be treated as two different variables. That I'll explain that in my previous lectures. So I want to believe that you guys understand that. All right, so to use var, let, and const, all these remember, var, let, const are always used for declaring variables. Okay, so if you don't want the variable to change, you use the const. Then if you don't want to use the const, you can use the let. And also we are saying that the var is used to support older browsers. So if I don't know whether you guys have come across some of the websites. Some of the websites you see an information like for best experiences use Google Chrome, for best experiences use maybe Firefox or so ever. Yeah, so if you want to still make the older versions of some browsers still usable when you are using the var, it will help still make them get the job done. All right, so we are getting to the deeper aspect of the JavaScript. So JavaScript, there's something we call the document object model, and it's very, very important. If you're able to understand this particular model, you would be able to write so many JavaScript codes or statements easily. Now, this DOM helps JavaScript to change HTML elements. So if you have a p tag, you can change the content in there. You can also change the HTML attributes. So I've also shown you some of the attributes. So the image source, if you have an image element, for instance, one of the attributes of image is the SR, or the source. You can change it from one item to the other. With the same DOM is a bit of this object model to also help us to change the CSS styles. I've said about that. Removing existing elements and attributes, you can remove, which is the hiding and also showing, replacing whatsoever, creating new ones, and JavaScript will help you do all these things with the use of the document. That is why, so the document is DOM. That is why you always see, basically, you see this code. I think it should be here. You see something like document dot get element by what ID. So it's the ability of this DOM that gives the flair where we can use the JavaScript to change some content of our information. So what we are going to learn, we're going to learn how to change the content for elements, and also how to change the CSS style of some elements, how to react to HTML DOM events, and how to add and delete HTML elements. So I don't know whether I should wait for the for the 4 minutes to be up, then come back for us to start all over. Okay, I think I'll take the first section here. I should be able to complete that before our 5 minutes. If not, we'll come back to start everything again. All right, so we're going to learn how to change the content of an HTML element. All right, so I'm going to create my HTML document. So with the exclamation dot type HTML. Okay, I think I'll let someone really help out so that maybe I want to believe that you guys helping me make things quite easier. All right, so I want to write you guys have done HTML, so give me the next step on what to do from here. Someone should do that for us. Then once we are done, then I will now come in with the scripting language for us to see how we can change an element's content with the use of the scripting language. Yeah, someone should proceed from here. Is Selassie in here? Can he help out? Selassie, your Selassie, is it a female Selassie or a male Selassie? You know, these errors, they give, error names to both sex. So, Selassie, if there's a Selassie here, in fact, I've seen a Selassie here. So, please, Selassie, can you continue with the HTML code that I have started? All right, Susan, can you take me through? I'm asking someone to tell us. You are Ezekiel. Ezekiel, why don't you tell us so that I can just continue? So I don't rush.
All right, so sir, let me see it.
Okay.
All right, so sir, the open tag HTML, then close the tag. Okay, it's /HTML. Then you go with the head, open tag head, then you close it.
Okay. What should I put there in between the tags?
In between the head tag, we can have the title also or something. My first JavaScript.
All right. So what else do we need here?
You can have the title also.
Okay.
Open tag title, then you close the tag.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Is that all? You want to end here?
You can then we have the body.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me go ahead and save this as my first. All right. Let's continue. Yeah, so I'll save it as my first Java script. Add another T. Then I'll save the file extension as an HTML document. So hypertext markup language. So I'm saving the work as HTML.
Then I'll come. If I don't say forget that.
Yeah, because we get me sense.
Agbeto, you are making noise.
Yeah, I'm not talking serious. I get second class. I'll give it to you.
All right, so my first ever script, and then I save the file as an HTML document. So this has been activated. Yeah, so like I was saying, for us to be able, can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah. So right now we don't have anything on our page. So I'll go ahead and then add a simple paragraph tag that I hate JavaScript SC programming. Then I close it with that. Good. So now we've also learned from our basic. So let me refresh this and go ahead and run. Interesting. Let me go ahead and run this. So you can see we have I hate. So by default, we have I hate JavaScript programming within our HTML file. So now, assuming we want to change this particular information, this is where JavaScript comes in and makes things quite beautiful. So what we are supposed to do is that with our p tag, we know how to add or ID, or let's say give IDs to our various tags. So with a p tag, I'll say ID and give it a name of choice. So let me just give it let me put the word hate. Let me put the hate as the ID that we are giving to this particular p tag. So we are trying to say that JavaScript can help us change the elements information. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So in doing that, we need to employ the scripting tags, script tag, opening tag, and we also have the script tag for the closing one. So in between this, we want to see how you can change an elements information using JS. Okay, so once we are done, this is how we're going to do it. So we continue, or we start with the keyword document dot get element by ID. Now note, we said that JavaScript is case sensitive. So you can see how I'm writing my information document coming from the DOM or the model object dot. We have a method called get element. You can see my get with a capital E following, or that's it's using the camel casing for that. Remember camel casing. So we have get element by ID. So what is the ID? So the ID is this particular guy that we are dealing with. So the name here is hate. So I'm going to go ahead and then copy the hate. So go ahead and get the elements by this ID dot inner HTML. Now, once it gets the information, go ahead and then replace it with a new value. So the new value, I can go ahead and say, I love JavaScript programming. And then remember, once you are done, you terminate your information or your statement, then you go ahead and save your work. So once you save, come back to our work here, we refresh. So we are expecting that the hit here changes to I love JavaScript programming. All right, so neatly done. I love JavaScript programming. The dot here. Yeah, so this is how you can actually change an information. Remember, we first said with our HTML, if it were left with our HTML alone, this is the information you're going to have on our screen. I hate JavaScript programming. So in instances where you want to change this particular information to something new, sometimes you see in some browsers where an information come like hello, maybe Selassie. Then later the hello will now change to hi Selassie, something like that. So those changing of those elements is possibly being made by the JavaScript to change this information. So if I'm to go back and reactivate this particular line of code, it is also possible that it will change the same value into a different thing. Yeah, so remember we were also saying that we can put our JavaScript in either the body section or the head sector. So I can cut this, go ahead and then paste it in the header. And let's see if it will still give us our information. So we have p tag, get element, ID. Sorry, this happening here. So I missed. Let's do this. D. That is programming for us. Okay. What am I doing wrong? 15 language comes in here.
Look like that. Operating.
All right.
Unmute.
Did I do wrong? Yeah. All right. I'll find out what is happening, but let's continue with this particular session. Yeah. So we've seen how we can change this, and I think this slide has a detailed information on that. All right. So the HTML DOM is a standard object model and programming interface for HTML, and it defines the HTML elements as objects, properties, methods, and events. So we have to know all the HTML properties and know the methods and also the events, and we know how we can deal with the changing of these particular elements here. All right, so in other words, the HTML DOM is a standard for how to get, change, add, or delete what elements. All right, so we have what you call, I think that with a simple demonstration that I worked on, the following example changes the content. That's the inner HTML of a p tag element with the ID demo. So HTML DOM methods are actions you can perform on HTML elements, and also properties are the values of the HTML elements that you can set or change. So this example that I just worked on, we have the body, and then there is a p tag called a demo. Now, this particular p tag has no information. So once you run, it is going to actually going to replace the space with the keyword hello world. So with the script, we have document.getElement by ID. Don't forget this particular line of code, document.getElement by ID. So that is how you can fetch information from a particular p tag. So getting the information is just by saying document.getElement, and you pass the ID. Remember, IDs are always unique. So get element by ID dot inner HTML. Now, once you are done, pass the new value to that particular ID that you've gotten. So in the above, we have get elements by ID, which is a method, while the inner HTML is a property. Now, the most common way to access an HTML element is to use the ID of the element. In the example above, get element by ID method, we used what we call the demo for the ID. So when you check here, my ID, I just gave it the hit as the ID and pass. So during the get element by ID, I went ahead and passed this value. When they are different, it will not be seen. When they are different, it will not be seen. So you must make sure that the same, you can see that the hit is still there. But the moment I ensure that the value for the ID equates whatever is here, I'll go ahead and save and then refresh, and then you can see that. So when you are dealing with the spellings too, you must make sure you give the right spelling. So the demo here is not always that you're supposed to use demo. What we're trying to say is that with IDs, you are free to give any name at all. Okay, any random letters you want to put, but it should make sense. So any information you put here is your ID, and during the JavaScript moment, you call the same ID, and then it will get the job done. So we are saying that if you want to access an information or an HTML element, you need to use the get element by what? ID. Then inner HTML property, it says the easiest way to get the content of an element. So the inner HTML is used in conjunction with the get element by ID. Okay, so the getting itself comes from the inner element, the inner HTML, and then it will be referenced by the ID, and they make sure that they are on the same page. So the HTML property is used for getting or replacing the content of the HTML elements. All right, so the document object represents your web page. If you want to access any element in an HTML page, you always start with accessing the document. Below are some examples of how you can use the document object to access and manipulate HTML. So you cannot only get an element by the ID. You can only get it using the tag name. You can also try using the tag name. So get elements by the tag name, and we'll see how you can also do that. And we can also get an element by the class name. Remember, in HTML and even in CSS, we can, if you want to change any style, if you have an ID, there's a way of doing it. You can also change the style using the tag name. There's a way of doing it, and also you can also use the class name. Remember, in HTML, sometimes you tend to give a class to a particular element. So one of the easiest way is to do that by getting what? The ID. And then changing the elements, you can have the elements.inner.html. So this inner.html is used to change the HTML content, as we've already seen, change the inner HTML of an element, and also have the element.attribute, which is also so one of the properties here, we have the inner HTML, we have the attribute, we also have the style.property. So with the attributes, changes the attributes value of an ATM element. I think we'll look at that before our time will be up. Then we also look at the style.property, which is also going to change the style. So maybe if something is not bolding, it can be bolding. If the color is maybe blue, you can also change it to white, pertaining to what you are dealing with. All right, so we also have the set attributes. This is also how you can also get the set attributes done. So there are so many information that we are supposed to look at. So there are other ways of getting or making changes to whatever elements you want to do. So you have to take time and go through all these various information on our screen here. So we've seen the changing of the HTML from the example I've showed from the slide, and also the one I just worked on with us. And then let's go ahead and then let's look at how to change the attributes, the value of an attribute, So like I was saying, let's go ahead and add an image to this particular HTML code that we have. So in adding an image, we say img, and then we pass in our src. So we have our src. Now, in putting down the image, I have this image here called the snakehead 1 and then the snakehead 2. I'm going to use the snakehead 1 as the default. Then by the time we'll be done changing, so by default in the HTML code, then in our scripting code, we'll now change this particular snakehead 1 to the snakehead 2. So let's see how we can get that also done. So by default, I'm going to use the snakehead 1. So the src should be snakehead1.jpg. I want to believe that you guys know how to reference an image. So the image type here is JPG. That is why you are seeing me using the JPG here. If yours is PNG, so you have to check the name, the file extension of your image, so that your image doesn't get lost from your site. So src, and then another attribute we want to work with is the width. So I'll go ahead and give it a width of let's say 150, and then give it a height of let's say let's go for 100. All right, so let's go and refresh our page and see this. Okay, so let me run this again. All right, so I love JavaScript programming. So this is my first image. Now we are also trying to say that unlike text, where we can change the value of this text by doing this get element by ID, then we have this particular value coming into play. It's also possible that, so now our first example here targeted the content here of our p tag. Now I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to explain here for you to see also is that it's also possible to change the attributes, the value of these attributes. So we want to change the value of the source, which is which is the snakehead 1, from snakehead 1 to a new image. Are we okay? All right, so to do that too, remember we want to get the element by ID. So we have to go ahead and give our image tag an ID.
They
So
get me
let's say
some.
image.
You pay do them on. Let me get man that.
All right. So we've gone ahead to give our image tag its own ID. So you can go ahead and then type our JavaScript. So we begin with document dot get elements by ID. Then we specify our ID, and now our ID is image. So we say image dot. So now these dots right now, we are going to refer to our SRC. So we say SRC. Then we now equate our SRC to our new name or our new image, which is the image 2. I'm using image 2 because when you check from my image here, it's called image 2. So I have to use image 2. So get the attribute and change the value from snake 1 head to snake 2 head. So let's save. Let's see that. Let's see if this will also work for us. Good. So here our image has now changed from the previous image to our new image here. So looking at the inner HTML, went attacking the content within the tag, and then this same JavaScript was also used to attack this particular the source, sorry, the attribute. Now we have other attributes like width and height. It's also possible to go ahead and change. So let's say that the width here, we are 150. Let's go ahead and then use the width. I can change the width and then put the value of the width from here as maybe 300. So here the first image will show, but the width will change from 150 to 300. Let's see if that's I've intentionally increased the size to see whether so like you see the effect on how the changes have been done. So this is one of the ways you can change using you can change an image attributes, yeah, to ensure that whatever you want to work with. So I'm going to go back using the SRC as thing. All right, please, we have a few minutes to go. Is there any question that's there's also note that the slide is self-explanatory, and I'm sure you guys, when I give it to you, guys can go ahead and then I think I was almost done with the slides. I'm even done. So you can go ahead and try the timing as well. But I want to ask if there are any questions so far before I can roll this class out.